a sunny and cold Thursday morning in Northeast Ohio. Welcome in, everybody. It is the Animal House in the Bullpen, Bull and Fox live this Thursday morning, brought to you by Bet Rivers. And Bet Rivers players who place a same-game parlay of at least $10 on NFL or NCAA football games will receive an entry into the weekly Squares game. Winning Squares can earn up to a $50 bonus bet per entry. See the Bet Rivers app or website for more details. Dustin, how you doing this morning?
Adam, I'm doing very well. How are you, sir?
All right. Snowing on your shirt this morning, too.
It is, yeah.
It's a little snowscape situation.
You like that?
Skiing going on there?
Yeah, it's Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, now I see it.
Yeah,
now
they've like
little
shoes hanging from the trees.
All right. So it is that, it's the holiday type of feel right now.
It is.
Certainly with the snow coming down and, just a couple of Hanukkah starts in 3 days. Christmas is 2 weeks from today will be Christmas Day. So we're in the holiday spirit and the holiday season, and hopefully the Browns will to their fans as well. It's not often that you have a team that's out of it. The Browns are eliminated from the playoffs. They have at this point, no mathematical path to the postseason. So it's over in terms of that. But there is plenty to play for and plenty to pay attention to in the final 4 games of the season for the Browns. The 2 biggest storylines, of course, being the future and the current. The current is Myles Garrett going for the sack record. He needs just 3 to break it in 4 games, which seems easy, but you never know. And teams, these teams are not going to want to give that up. We'll get to that in a second, in a little bit. But of course, the future. Will it be Shedeur Sanders? And how well will he play down the stretch? You never know. We could say whatever we want. We could say, hey, I think you got to lean towards Shedeur Sanders right now. But the person making that decision for now, I think, is Andrew Berry. Will it still be at the end of the year? We'll see. But ultimately, will Shedeur Sanders show the Browns enough down the stretch that makes them say, hey, let's use those picks on something else? So there's 2 huge and fascinating storylines down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating, and I don't know. I don't know how this plays out, obviously, but if Shedeur plays extremely well, it's going to put a lot of question marks on the offseason, because I guess there's going to be question marks no matter what. You know what I mean? Because if Shedeur does play extremely well, it's going to make people think that we've got our quarterback, and that would be a great thing if they did have their quarterback, because for obvious reasons they wouldn't have to pay Shedeur a lot of money. He's on a rookie contract. They wouldn't have to use any of their first round picks in the upcoming future to go invest in another quarterback. However, if he plays well enough that it doesn't present itself as very clear and obvious, then there's going to be even more question marks going into the offseason as to what you do. And then on top of that, what happens with the head coach? Because I know this much. If Kevin Stefanski ends up being the head coach again next year, I would say that actually bodes well probably for Shedeur, as opposed to a new coach coming in and thinking, do I want to have Shedeur here with our new quarterback if they decide to draft a new quarterback? So there's just so many different layers to this. But I will say this much, Adam. I don't know that I've ever been more excited to watch a meaningless football game this weekend.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, I'm fascinated. After Shedeur played as well as he did last week, I'm like,
yeah,
this could be exciting, because the better he plays, the more, there's questions either way, but the better that Shedeur Sanders plays down the stretch. And it's a tough test. Like, expecting him to put up numbers at least like he did last week is unfair. And for any rookie quarterback, let alone a guy on a team that doesn't have much talent around him. But the fact that, at least in my opinion, he raised the talent of the guys around him, I thought last week, that's what had me so intrigued, because I thought he made the Browns offense look legit. Like, I'm not going to say it looked amazing, but looked legit. And to make this group of schlumps, some of them, look legit was pretty impressive. And that's what really I think for a lot of people, has them leaning in a different direction after last week. But as we all know, we're all prisoner of the moment to some degree, some more than others. And as we go through these weeks against the Bears and the Steelers and the Bills and then the Bengals,
It's a tough stretch, man.
Yeah,
Tough
everybody's
stretch.
going to ebb and flow in how they feel about Shedeur unless it's 100% clear. And the reality is,
unless he does what Shannon Sharp says and just tells Coach, "Nah, I'm good, Coach. I don't want to play. These teams are too good."
I don't even want to talk about that because it's just so silly. I don't know how that would benefit Shedeur in any way. But
no, it's not.
Some people have lost their minds in this situation.
We lost our minds for spending 7 minutes on it yesterday.
I know. It was crazy. But I look at this at this moment in time, I feel good about, because there's three things here. There's three ways the Browns could do it after this year. Number one, you're all in on Shedeur and you do everything in the draft to kind of signal that. Number two is you're moving on. Like they're going to draft another quarterback. Shadeur's not in the future. But there is a third option that I think most people, because we're so extreme in society these days, everybody's ignoring the one in the middle that might be the most realistic, which is Shedeur shows you enough that you want to see more. Plus, you're either not drafting high enough to get the quarterback you want, or you're not convinced that any of these quarterbacks are better. I know, again, I'm not a scout, but I am definitely not convinced that any quarterback coming out here is better than Shedeur Sanders in the pros. Time will tell. I'm certainly not convinced of that. And that scenario may lead to, okay, well, let's use these other picks on other positions. Let's see what Shadeur's got. Give him a whole year. Now he's played 20 games and we can make a better judgment. Okay, it's clear we have our guy. Or, okay, I think we maybe need to move on. But at least you'd have, in theory, 23 games worth of data instead of 6 games worth of data, which would make a huge difference. So, that's possible. It's hard, these days it's just hard to know for sure. It's hard to know for sure. Like, I think people tend to
never know for sure.
And after a few years,
until the guy's played for 5 years,
right? Like, I think a lot of people. It's funny because Jackson Dart and Cam Ward, like, they're obviously going to get another year because they were drafted higher. But it's not like they've played great this year. I mean, Cam Ward hasn't played particularly well, but he's the first. And I'm not saying he shouldn't get another year. He obviously should. But it's a no-brainer because he was the first pick. It's a no-brainer on Jackson Dart, who's got hurt 13 times, because he was a first-round pick. And fair or not, that's just the way it goes. But, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling at this point. I think Shadeur's going to play well enough. It's just my gut feeling that he's going to play well enough to at least make them say, we got to see another year of this before we make a final decision. And I know even that statement will piss off his diehard fans because it should be like, well, it's a no-brainer now. It's a no-brainer now. It's not a no-brainer now. It's not a no-brainer now on Cam Ward, who was the first overall pick. You've seen some good things from him. There's not a Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck, who's shown some things, Jackson Dart. None of those guys are sure things. They haven't played enough. That's the reality of the situation. But I think Shedeur is going to play well enough that that the team's going to want to see more, and certainly the fans are going to want to see more next year. And another interesting part of this is what you just said before, is that you said, well, maybe it's better if Stefanski keeps his job, that Shadeur's got a better chance. And that's fascinating because obviously,
I know the narrative that's out there by a lot of people, and they've created it, and we have no idea if there's any truth to it at all. In fact, I'd probably argue that there's not any truth to it, that Stefanski doesn't like Shedeur. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't buy any of he's trying to sabotage him.
Right.
Has Kevin
he may have had his preference on who he liked coming out of the draft.
100%.
But in terms of now, Adam, like Stefanski's trying to win a game.
He is, yeah.
He's trying to win a game, and like what he saw to Shedeur on Sunday had to give him some some promise that
Yeah.
he can do it again this week. And look, the schedule's not easy. In fact,
No.
it's very difficult to end this year. And so if Shedeur plays well, and if the Browns, again, the wins and losses don't really matter. More it more or less is about Shedeur at this point and
Yes.
Myles Garrett getting the
Yeah.
sack record. Those are the
Yeah.
things we're looking forward to seeing.
Right.
Um, and yeah, if they could beat the Bears, it'd be amazing. It'd be
Yeah. I mean, they're a
incredible.
7.5-point dog in this game. It's on the road. I know it's going to
It's
be
going to be
brutally
like
cold.
8 degrees, man.
Yeah. Yeah. That how much does that affect?
A lot.
As much as it doesn't. It's a 10 to 20-mile-an-hour winds, so not crazy winds. But the cold does it affect the passing game any more than the running game, or no?
It
You think?
affects everything. It affects
Yeah.
everything, and it affects that position. I mean, look, you're touching the football every snap, and if you're playing from behind, and there's a
Yeah.
good chance they will be because they play from the behind most games, it means you're throwing the ball.
Yeah.
It's just not ideal conditions to throw the football. It's going to be a really cold day. There's going to be some. I don't know if there's going to be much snow like on the ground, but I'm sure it's
Right.
going to be flurries and the winds are going to be whipping. Very similar to the way it is down at Cleveland Brown Stadium. It's not ideal conditions. It wasn't ideal conditions last week, and he
No.
played pretty well, but it's going to be a lot colder.
Yeah.
The cold is what really can affect the quarterback. He's got to keep his hands warm, and he's got to make sure that that he takes care of the football. I mean, those are the most important things in games like this. Like, just take care of the ball. Don't turn it over. Don't do too much with it. We're not asking you to throw. He doesn't need to throw for 367 yards. He doesn't. He
He
needs to
might.
throw for. He needs to throw for a buck 80 and a touchdown and no picks.
Well, if the defense plays like it did last week, he might need to throw for 300 yards for them to
And
win.
that was to me, that's a one-off.
Yeah.
The defense has played so well this year, and
Yeah.
every really good defense, no matter who you are, you have off days. I mean,
Yep.
you're humans.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, and it's not like he's going to have any good weather down the stretch. I mean, you're playing the Bears on the road, then you got the Bills and Steelers at home, and then the last week is at Cincinnati. So it's not like they're playing in any warm weather places here down the stretch. It's going to be, freezing or below probably. I mean, if you're lucky, you get a 40-degree game, which would actually probably feel pretty nice, 40 degrees, and if it wasn't,
Oh,
raining
heck yeah. Kidding me?
whatever. But I think, I mean, this is usually in December, we're talking all about the draft, and we will get to that certainly when the season's over. But I'm way more intrigued by Shedeur Sanders and Myles Garrett to a lesser degree to see. And obviously, no matter what Shedeur Sanders does, good or bad, there'll be arguments over it. I guess if it's so obvious one way or the other, maybe there won't be, but that's probably not going to be the case. I think that's unlikely because it's just, it's going to be hard. I'd be surprised if he was awful in these 4 games, and I'd be surprised if he threw for, put up monster numbers 4 games in a row, considering the weather, the opponents, and all these things. That's an unrealistic bar. If he does it, great, but I think that's too much to ask. So the reality is it's somewhere in between, and that's going to lead to a lot of debates in the offseason.
Yeah, I would agree with you that the numbers probably will not be close to what they were a week ago, and that's okay, because most quarterbacks don't throw for 360 something yards and are responsible for 4 touchdowns, both with your arm and with your legs. Like, it's just that those games don't really happen. But I think he can play well.
Yeah.
Let's just lower the expectations. Just because you did that one game
Yeah.
against a pretty weak opponent doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it again against the Bears, a much better defense, and it's going to get tougher, as we go throughout the remainder of this season. I don't think he's going to play bad, but it's possible. He is still a rookie.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick, and he has had times this year where he has been horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even there at times he was horrendous on Sunday. Like, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
These guys make mistakes.
Yeah.
They're not perfect.
Right.
They're learning. Like, you don't just become Tom Brady overnight. Like, it takes time to see defenses and go through situations where you're in tough spots. Like he's played 4 games.
Yeah. I feel really strong about, we were talking with Ross Tucker yesterday, right? And I just, when he talked about, that Shedeur, he could see why, like, that some guys are just, they're better on the field than they are on the film. You know what I mean? Like, they are breaking down film. And some guys just, people keep using the term gamer, so I guess I'll continue to say it. And I think maybe that's why people miss the boat on Shedeur. I think, and time will tell. But I've now kind of convinced myself, and I was like, when everybody was saying, well, he's not really a 5th rounder, I said, would he have really dropped that far if he was that good? There was part of me that was in my brain, and I'm like, I think maybe that happened. It was a unique circumstance here. And I'm not saying he should have been drafted with the 2nd pick of the draft or the 4th pick of the draft. Maybe he should. I don't know.
I think it's pretty clear that he should have been drafted ahead of Dylan Gabriel.
100%.
How about that?
No doubt. I mean, it feels like maybe the most realistic spot was what Sean King said initially, was late 1st, early 2nd round.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to be a 1st-round quarterback. If there's any questions about you at all, like teams just move on.
That's
because
right.
think about this, like if you're a late 1st-round pick, that's a team that probably already has a quarterback.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a developmental prospect. And so if you want a developmental prospect late in the 1st round, like you're thinking this guy could be a starter down the line, there were questions with Shedeur. Like did you want to have this guy be your backup to a veteran? Okay, so you move on to the 2nd round. Then the 2nd round, you're thinking, okay, there's still questions. And then why are these other teams not taking him?
Yeah.
Am I missing something with Shedeur? And then you're like, okay, I guess I'll just take a pass rusher. You just move on.
Yeah.
The teams just move on.
Right.
And then it's 3rd round. Then you're thinking, really? No one's taking Shedeur by the 3rd round?
Yeah.
I guess there must be a really big red flag here. And then it's the 4th round. And then you're like, holy cow. And if the Browns didn't take him, like, who knows? Maybe he goes undrafted.
Yeah.
Because people would have been questioning. And that would have been ridiculous if that would have happened. So I guess I give the Browns credit for pulling the trigger, but they still look so silly for taking Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round.
Right. And if they had, if they, this whole season, let's say they had drafted Shedeur in the 2nd round or even the 3rd round where they drafted Dylan Gabriel, it would have been a whole different ball game along the way. A lot of the animus out there on social media and all that stuff would have been gone because he would have been more of a priority for the organization, and clearly he wasn't. And I think I think everybody made a mistake, and I think for once the Browns got lucky. And I'm making that, and he hasn't proven enough for me to say that this with assuredness. Like he's just not done enough on the field in the NFL to say for sure he's a good quarterback, obviously. Even though people will scream and yell at me for saying that. But that's obvious. Anybody would say that about any quarterback. But I don't know. I was just really impressed with what he did last week, and I want to see him. I want to see him do it again, but it's not fair to ask him to do it again.
I got to tell you, we went out, my wife and I went out to meet some friends on Sunday, and we watched the first half at a little dive bar. Mm-hmm. And, it was not a good first half. And, it was okay. I guess there were some moments, but, you're trailing. We get home and they get down. The punt gets blocked. And then I'm like, this thing's over. I start to nod off, dude. I'm falling asleep.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Sarah's elbowing me. You got to see this. They scored. And then the 2-point thing happens and all that, craziness happened. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, dude, I mean, I guess it's like, I'm going to learn my lesson with Shedeur Sanders is on the field. Like you don't close your eyes. You don't blink because you never know. Something exciting can happen.
Yeah. There really is a level of excitement that we had with Joe Flacco for a minute 2 years ago or, 3 seasons ago. And really since Baker, because with Joe there was no future hope. It was the current hope that he was the excitement. With Shedeur, you have the first future hope since Baker.
It would be amazing if Shedeur Sanders ends
Yeah.
up being the franchise quarterback here. It really would be, because
Yeah.
he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if he just continues to play and puts in the time and effort, it sounds like he does. I mean, Ross was telling us the story about him carrying the iPad with him all around the building,
Yeah.
because it's like he just has to be like locked in to everything, because this is his opportunity and he wants
Yeah.
to make the most of it. And I love that about the kid. And he's such a sweet guy. Like I don't know, man. He's not like, he's a little immature in a way that it's kind of like innocent. Like he's like he's just happy to be alive. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's just
He's a very positive person, it
he
seems
has
like.
an infectious personality
Yeah.
that I think is really good for a locker room. It's really good for just the team in general. I mean, even though the guys were mocking him during the game with the Rolex thing, the other team, then he scores and he gives it back to him, and they can like respect it because he's likable.
Yeah.
Like the other team doesn't even hate the guy.
No, that's
They're
true.
just it's just some gamesmanship when they're talking some shit out there. You know what I mean? It's not like personal. Like Johnny Manziel, these guys wanted to kick the shit out of Johnny.
Yeah. No, right. Nobody respected him. Not in the NFL. In terms of Myles Garrett, let's talk about him for a little bit. Obviously, only 1 sack last week. Only one. I say that like, oh, what a slacker. He only had 1 sack. He has 20 sacks with 4 games to go. The record's 23.5. Any doubt that he's going to get it? Or like, did Tennessee give some sort of game plan to other teams the rest of the way?
There's no game. Tennessee didn't give a game plan on how to stop Myles Garrett. I mean, it's funny that we're like, he only had 1 sack.
Right, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
If
you wouldn't
he
say that
only
about
had
any
one
other player.
sack a game,
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be 17 sacks a year.
No player's ever done that in the history of the NFL. Averaged over a career. You have it a season. But no player in there. Myles Garrett averages more sacks per game than any player in the history of football.
Yeah, not surprising.
Yeah. And so, yes, I mean, obviously these teams down the stretch are focused on him to some degree. But, unlike Tennessee, where they have a rookie quarterback and no talent on offense, the rest of the teams you're playing down the stretch, outside of the Bengals, the other 3 got the playoffs in mind, right? All 4 have good offensive teams. And so they're not, well, obviously they're as concerned with Myles Garrett as anybody is going to be because he's the best player. It's not like they still got to, their quarterbacks are going to hold the ball. Like, they're not going to have a game plan. Oh, we got to get rid of the ball quick all the time. Because they have quarterbacks that are veterans outside of Chicago that are going to want to make plays. Joe Burrow holds the ball. Josh Allen holds the ball. Aaron Rodgers holds the ball because they want to try to make plays. And that's going to lead to some sack opportunities for Myles Garrett that probably didn't happen as much against Tennessee or maybe even Chicago. Although the Browns have played well against mobile quarterback. Oh, Caleb Williams is playing a lot better. I think, we'll see in the long run. I think last year's draft is going to turn out to be a pretty good draft. I think Jaden Daniels will bounce back next year. I think Caleb Williams looks like he's rounded into a good player. Drake May obviously is having a great second year. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But I still think Myles Garrett's going to – I'm going to predict 25 – I still am going to predict 25 sacks from Myles Garrett. I think he gets 5 more in the final 4 games.
5 more.
5 more. That's what I got.
Ooh-wee. Okay.
And one other thing to keep an eye on down the stretch, no matter what you think about the quarterback situation, guys, if you could put up that graphic again with the draft order. Now, I know we got 4 weeks to go, so obviously this could change, a million times. And you see how many. I mean, you got 8 teams within a game of each other there. Right now, the Browns are 4th, but The reason the Browns are first amongst the 3-10 teams is because their strength of schedule is the easiest. That's the tiebreaker for the draft. It has nothing to do with head-to-head like when you go into the playoffs. It's not the division. None of that matters. It's what is who played the easiest schedule of the teams that finished 2-11. That was the Raiders. Who had the easiest schedule of the teams that are 3-10? As of now, it's the Browns. Now, the Browns are playing 3 teams in a row that have good records, so they might not hold that tiebreaker when we get to the end of the season. But it's just something to keep an eye on. And the first pick in the draft is still very much up for grabs. If you look, as you see there, 8 teams with either 2 or 3 wins with 4 weeks to go. This could still go in a lot of directions. The Giants, I know. I think the Giants are playing. I think the Saints this week. They're playing a bad team. I think it's the Saints. Yeah, I think I could see them winning this week. We'll see.
I totally could see them winning that game.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens down the stretch. All right, let's get to a few comments from the fans, and then we'll say goodbye. Mr. Chairman of the board, good morning, Bull and Fox with the emojis.
Are we going to even mention the fact that Michigan fired their coach?
Oh yeah, let's. You know what? We should talk about it. And he got arrested.
Yeah, it's a really sad situation.
Do
you want to do our comments first, and then?
Yeah, let's do this first, and then we'll mention that.
Just want to remind you of that.
Yeah, thanks. Sonia says Shannon Sharp was joking about that.
Okay, maybe he was.
Maybe he was.
I only saw a clip.
That's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, Shannon Sharp is way too smart.
He is smart, and both he and Ocho Cinco are smart guys.
Yeah,
and they've played in the league at a high level, and they should know.
Yeah,
better.
Yeah,
and so if they were joking, great. Then that makes me feel like, thank God, I still have faith in humanity.
Yeah, exactly. SW Lion, you're in cap hell because of Watson. Whether you like Sanders or you don't like him, you should be rooting for him. I don't know why anybody wouldn't like him. I don't know that there's anything about liking him or not liking him. I guess there are some people who don't like him and, whatever. But it's about, is he good enough or not? And yes, as you say, SW Lion, if he plays well, especially against good teams down the stretch, that is a massive win for the Browns because – now you have to spend no money on quarterback. You have to spend no draft capital at quarterback. We were talking about will the Browns trade up, so there was a possibility they would trade 3 first-round picks to get a quarterback. If Shedeur's your answer, then there's none of that. Now you're spending those 3 first-round picks on tackles and wide receivers, which is what they need to spend them on. Let's see. Max says, how would a redraft of the 2025 class look? Quarterback class look. I mean, right now, Drake May would go 1. I still am a big Jaden Daniels guy. I would still take him first, even though he's had a terrible season. It's been because of injury. Even when he came back, Dustin, I was talking with Herm Edwards yesterday. Yeah. We love Herm Edwards. You and I have interviewed him a million times, but
play to win the game.
One of the greatest lines. That and Jim Morris playoffs. What's playoffs? And you want crown them? You want to crown their ass? Crown them. That was Dennis Green. Of course.
Green, yeah.
But Herm Edwards coached Jaden Daniels in college at Arizona State, and so he obviously has a relationship with Jaden. And he said that even when Jaden came back, he wasn't really. He's not right. Like, he's trying to play through it. Like Baker is doing now and has done in the past, right? Let's see. Sass Spencer says, unless he plays like an absolute dog bleep the next few games, Shedeur should get next season and the Browns should draft offensive players. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Matt says, is there a world where Shedeur plays well enough to warrant a further look and the Browns lose out? Yes. I'm not for me, the perfect world is, I think this is unlikely because if Shedeur plays great, they'll probably win at least one more game because the only way Shedeur could play great and the Browns keep losing is if their defense doesn't play well. which is unlikely.
They
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
coming from a guy who's a season ticket holder of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
They could beat the Bills. I'm not happy with the way they're playing right now.
Well, I mean, listen, but the Bills' offense is, as long as you got Josh Allen, their defense isn't playing great.
Adam,
Yeah.
I mean, someone made this comment yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Like, Josh Allen is such an unbelievable player. I mean, you take him off their team, they're the Jets. I mean, they're the Dolphins. I mean, they're just another average team in the AFC or a below average team in that division.
Yeah.
I mean, the Patriots already are running away with the division,
Yeah.
but the Bills would be a 3-win team without Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They don't have a ton of weapons. Their offensive line's banged up and they're not great. Defensively, they've given up a ton of points this year, but they have Josh Allen. And that guy is so ridiculously good.
Right, but you could say that about, you say that about Cincinnati. You say that about, they're basically a 3-win team with Burrow, although he was hurt.
Sure. That's probably fair.
Yes, he's got more talent. The Bills, James Cook is a great back. The rest of the talent around him is just, okay.
Where are their great receivers? They don't have great receivers.
No. I like Dalton Kincaid. They got nice tight ends, but they're not superstars.
They got a couple elite whites, exciting whites at tight end.
Yeah,
but for the most part, they're not a really skilled team.
Yeah,
on offense. I mean, Josh Allen's doing. I mean, he the guy's a snowmobile.
yeah. Let me get a few more comments here. Sonia says, I predict Cleveland will win against the Bears, Bills, and Bengals. Well, if that happens, if they win 3 games, I think it's probably safe to say Shedeur is going to be the quarterback next year. But again, I don't even know if I finished my point. I get in the long run, obviously you need your quarterback to find ways to win. But anybody, to me, I'm not holding the loss against Shedeur Sanders last week. That's crazy. The defense was terrible. The special teams were terrible. The running game was terrible. The only thing going for the Browns last week was his arm and, frankly, his legs. And, again, that's another thing that some of the critics have screwed up with Shedeur Sanders. He is a way better athlete than people give him credit for. Way better. I didn't watch him a ton in college. I saw him some, but I guess I wasn't paying that close attention to his running ability. But man, I don't understand. Like, I feel like coming out of college, people were talking about him like he was a stiff in terms of running, and that's not true at all. I think what happened there again is you got his dad on your brain, and so you're like, well, you can't move like his dad. Well, nobody can move like his dad. His dad's one of the greatest athletes in the history of sports. Not the history of football, the history of the sports. That's impossible to match.
100%.
Unless you Ken Griffey Jr., I guess. But he's a good athlete. There's no doubt. And he not only led their passing game last week, which was the only positive for the team, but he was their most effective runner in the few times he took the ball. So, yeah. So if he plays well down the stretch, I don't care how many games he wins. For me, I'm not judging him on wins and losses. Now, if he has an opportunity down the stretch, the Browns have the ball, he has an opportunity with a game-winning drive, and he makes a bad mistake, okay, you're going to get a quarterback's going to get blamed in that situation. But we can't forget, like, the Browns are a 7.5-point underdog. They're going to be at home a big underdog to the Bills. They're going to be an underdog to the Steelers. They're going to be an underdog in all 4 games. Even though the Bengals aren't playing great, they're going to be. That's on the road. They're going to be an underdog in that game if Burrow is playing. So, I'm Shedeur Sanders could play well in these games. Now he can't play. If he plays amazing, they're probably going to win with their defense. But he could play, good, and they could definitely lose these games. And that's not going to negatively impact my impression of him.
I mean, ultimately, if he plays well and they
Yeah.
lose, that's better for the organization.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like this last weekend
Yeah.
was perfect. It was perfect because
Yeah.
I honestly, man, I don't know about you, but we've talked about this game a bunch
Yeah.
since the game ended. I forgot they lost.
Right. It doesn't feel like a loss because we're
Doesn't
excited
feel
about
like a
how he
loss.
played. Yeah.
In fact, I think a couple of times maybe even said, in that win that Shedeur led, on Sunday, because that's what it felt like.
Right. It did feel like a win because it was the first time a young quarterback has played well for the Browns.
Yep.
With Dillon Gabriel, we got nothing. He gave us no hope when he played. There was no excitement over Dillon Gabriel. There was no maybe he's the guy with Dillon Gabriel. There was none in whatever he played, 6 games.
Yep.
All right, let's clarify this because we talked about this yesterday on the show, and we got to clarify that people are making this mistake. So Kokorek says, Bull, I saw Kevin Stefanski's father-in-law is Tim McCarver. Any thoughts on KS bias toward Deion Sanders? Folks, this is not true, okay? This is going around the internet. I don't know if it was purposely somebody lied about this or if it was just a mistake, and because every conversation about Shedeur Sanders is huge, it's gotten, I don't know how it started. It doesn't matter. Let me make it clear to everybody watching right now. Tim McCarver is not Kevin Stefanski's father-in-law. He's not. Somebody said it was his grandfather. Somebody said it was his father-in-law. There is no relation. I don't know if they know each other. It's possible Tim McCarver played in Philadelphia long before Kevin Stefanski. And Kevin Stefanski, his background is from Philly, so they might possibly know each other. I have no idea. But they are not related in any way. So there you go. So
Is Tim McCarver the baseball player?
Yes. Oh, yeah, you had already left by the time we talked about this. There was some sort of – it was going around, thousands of people. What's that?
There was a conspiracy?
Conspiracy theory. So what happened was Tim McCarver had a feud with Deion Sanders when they played. When Deion Sanders played, and Tim McCarver was a broadcaster. And Tim asked him Deion was pissed because Tim asked him a question. He was kind of Tim McCarver criticized him for playing both sports, which
in
is
the
wild.
92 NLCS. Yeah, I see it right
was
here.
Really, I don't know why Tim McCarver did that, but whatever. So Deion was pissed, and he dumped a bucket of Gatorade or water or whatever over his head in the locker room, and that led to bad blood between the two. I don't know if it's ever been squashed. Who knows? Who cares? So all of a sudden, because everybody's looking for conspiracy theories these days, it started that Tim McCarver was his grandfather, I think, and then it became he was his father-in-law, and so that's why Stefanski hates Shedeur, because he's related to Tim McCarver. There's no truth to that story. None.
Tim McCarver is also dead.
And Tim McCarver is dead, yes.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a broadcaster. I don't know why. I think that was lame that he kind of crapped on him for that, because we all loved it. I mean, when Deion Sanders played both sports, obviously. Is
it true that Deion then dumped water on his head?
Yeah, that was the thing. And McCarver was very pissed off about it.
Yeah, it sounds like I'd be pissed off too.
Yeah. But that has nothing to do with Stefanski. So we can clear that up right now. That story is completely made up. But yes, he did. Deion did dump water over him because he was pissed at something McCarver had asked him. Or I don't know if he asked him or a commentary he made about him. I don't remember which it was, but it's irrelevant in this situation. All right, thanks, everybody. A little long show today. We're going to 9:40. Dustin and I will both be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today, along with Tyvis Powell and G. Bush. So join us at 11 o'clock. Until then, and I'll be on tomorrow. We'll have another podcast with Zach Jackson. If you haven't watched it already, check out my podcast I did with the great Herm Edwards yesterday. It's been blowing up this morning, which is exciting. I always like talking with him. He's great. And I obviously we get his thoughts on Shedeur Sanders and Myles Garrett and a whole lot more. He also had some thoughts on Jim Brown, too. All right, so thanks to Max and Z for producing today. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull and Dustin Fox. brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.
Peace.